base, you got Frazier. That's fine for the most part. Left field, you got Dom Smith and J.D. Davis. One's a third base, one's a first baseman. In center field, you got Michael Conforto. He's a left fielder. And in right field, you got Jeff McNeil, and he's a second baseman. So there's so many guys playing out of position, and that would be why the Mets have the worst defensive team in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And so even the guys, like looking at the guys who are playing, quote unquote, in position, Robinson Cano has lost a step. He's on the 36. He's completely lost a step. He in reality should probably play first base because he basically can't play second base. So that's a negative. You forgot to mention Ramos, who's a negative. He's really in the lineup for his bat. I thought his arm was going to be better, and I thought he was going to stop some of the running. But teams have continued to run all over us. So we have a negative there as well. Rosario has always been a poor fielder, but he has like the physical gifts, so you think that he would get it together. But I love using this example. Look at Lasting Millage. He had all the physical gifts he could never put together. He was a terrible fielder. He was crazy fast, really athletic, had a cannon for an arm. He just literally couldn't judge a fly ball. So having the gifts doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get there. And what's really terrible about the situation is that we have a Gold Glove fielder who's not batting his body weight. He's hitting like 187 right now, so you can't run him out there. We don't.
Yeah, like Aris, it's a shame he can't hit because even if this guy batted, let's say 250, he put him in there every day. He's catching everything, and it makes the defense so much better.
Yeah, up the middle is the real concerns because I think you can kind of get by. Even Conforto, I think, has made himself a better center fielder. He doesn't get to everything, but he plays balls off caroms really well. He makes better judgment calls.
Here's the thing about Conforto. People say, no, he's not doing too well this year. He's hitting, but I think if you said to Conforto at the beginning of the year, we're like, hey, Michael, you're going to play left field every day, 160 games a year. He would be much better at hitting because now he's got to worry every day. Where am I playing? Am I playing left? Am I playing right? Am I playing center? He's moving around, and it takes a toll running around in center field, especially when you're out there with infielders. And I think that might be affecting his hitting a little bit this season.
Absolutely. And, he's not having a bad year at all. Not at all. But, also not giving him a spot in the lineup where you're bouncing him around all the time. So he's seeing different pitches a lot. I think that some of it's a learning because this was sort of a new crowd of guys this year. But, I think the optimal lineup would probably be McNeil, Conforto in the 2 spot, and then Alonso. The problem is we really don't have a 4-hitter on this team to protect Alonso. So who do you bat fourth? So what you do is you have guys batting out of position,
Well, this team would be a lot different with Cespedes and Brandon Nimmo in the lineup because if you had Nimmo, you could let him lead off. You drop McNeil down a spot, and then you could put Conforto fourth, and it would be a lot better. But you're stuck with Robinson Cano batting in the middle of the order.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think the Nimmo loss is a lot bigger than a lot of sports writers are giving him credit for. The guy played a really great outfield. He hit a ton last year, and he was running all over the place. Him not having him out there is tough because now you got to move guys into a lot of different positions. I think an outfield of Nimmo in center, Conforto in left, and McNeil in right is much, much better offensively and defensively than, Conforto in center, Dom Smith.
Without a doubt. And you know what? Another big bat that they're missing in the lineup, John? Jed Lowrie.
The Jed Lowrie missing in action report is insane to me. I don't know what happened to this guy that he's missed this much time, and they've told us nothing. They don't
know. It's like, who's going to play first, John? Jacoby Ellsbury, who hasn't played in like 3 years, Yoenis Cespedes, or Jed Lowrie?
Probably Ellsbury.
Wow. I was going to say Cespedes.
No. That ankle thing that he did, first of all, his feet / ankles were jacked up prior to. He was on the DL when he hurt himself. But that other injury, that's going to be a lot. And he's older too. What is he, 33? As someone who's over 30, I can tell you right now, he's not going to bounce back the way he was. He might not even be able to play in the outfield anymore. Like, he might not be able to run around like that. If he does come back and he's not a shell of himself, I will be shocked. because that's a big injury. I don't know if it's career-ending, but God, it might be close.
All right, we shall see. So, John, trade deadline coming up. Our next show will be after the trade deadline, most likely. Who do you think the Mets should try to trade, and then who do you think they actually can trade?
Well, that's a very good question, because who will they try to trade? Probably nobody, because Brody doesn't want to seem like a seller, so he doesn't want to move talent and then prepare for the future, because that's like admitting defeat. And I think that ownership's trying to like hang on to, no, we can still make the last wild card. So, I could see them not making any moves, but just say, tomorrow you Hominis Dominus, you make me the GM. What moves I'm going to make, I'm probably going to try to move Dom Smith, because he's a left-handed hitter and he's hit really well this year. This is probably the highest his stock's ever going to be. He's under team control for a while, making like no money. He could be, and he's been a very good pitch hitter, which is something that teams that are trying to make a playoff run really desperately need. So this is probably like the peak of his value, unless he ever puts it, really together. I think you trade him because there's someone blocking him who's a superstar at his position. You really can't survive with him in left field. But a team that needs a lefty pitch hitter with some power, who's going to draw some walks, get on base, and hit for average, will give you something up nice as that final piece. So I think we might be able to get something really nice for him. So I would move him. I would say the same thing with J.D. Davis. I like him as well, but if a team was willing to make a move for him, he'd be available as well. The same thing with Todd Frazier. If a team wanted Todd Frazier because he's going to hit for pop and play a decent third base, just say like a team like, I don't know, like the Yankees had an issue with third baseman got hurt, and they just needed like a veteran bat in there, and they're willing to give up some high, AAA prospects that are like real ready for the show, I'd be willing to give up him too. Because then what you do is you move McNeil the third, and it would almost align your lineup a little bit easier. As far as bullpen goes, I'd love to get some bullpen help, but we're not going to be able to move any of these guys in our bullpen because they stink and nobody wants them. I'd love to move Familia, but what team's giving you something for Familia right now?
Well, this is what I would do. I would definitely try to trade Vargas. He's in his last year of his deal. I would try to trade Frazier. He's in his last year of his deal. Now, there's been a lot of talk about trading Zack Wheeler. And you know what? If the return's good, do it. He's in the last year of his deal. But you have to try to sign this guy in the offseason then, because you're not going to sign a superstar. You're not going to go out there and sign an ace. I don't even know if there's anybody available in the offseason. So who are you finding on the open market, John, that's going to be better than Zack Wheeler? Nobody. So you need to bring him back, I think, next year if you trade him or if you don't. Because that's just my view on trading him or really any starting pitcher outside of Jason Vargas.
Well, that's the real issue here. Is the team is probably on the same boat you are, but him going on the DL right now with that shoulder issue is going to really throw a wrench into that, because you can't trade a guy while he's on the DL. So, and also it's, he's had Tommy John before, so he's had some issues. So you might not get back what you would want to get back, because team buyers will be hesitant. Unfortunately, I could see this going the way of, in the offseason, the Mets lowball him, he gets signed with somebody else, and then we just settle for the draft pick because he signed somewhere else. You know what I mean? But who knows? It really depends on if this team's if Brody's really about win now and they'll go out and spend money and make moves, or if they're going to be like, all right, in reality, we kind of missed the boat here, blah, blah, blah. I think the three-headed monster of deGrom, Alonso, and McNeil are going to push them to be buyers and be like, all right, we got these young guys. They're in the prime of their career. When it comes to McNeil and Alonso, they're making no money. So you're getting this great production on the cheap. So go spend money on some other pieces and let's bring a winner around. That's where I think leadership is, but, it's the Mets, so God knows.
I'm going to say the Mets trade Wheeler. I would guess he's going to start probably next Thursday. He'll be back from the injured list. I think in the offseason he's going to sign with the Braves. I don't know, just my guess. If you're going to trade him, try to get somebody of value. I would trade basically anybody in the bullpen if possible, but who wants those people? And I would maybe trade Wilson Ramos. And I know you got another year or two in his deal, but he is still hitting. Maybe trade him to an AL team or something. Like he uses DH because he still hits. But the real problem, John, is that the Mets had this like great catcher, and they basically just like gave him away for nothing.
Yeah, deGrom, deGrom, hear me? Darno was sort of sent packing way, way prematurely. So obviously he was performing poorly after coming back from Tommy John surgery himself. But I actually looked at the numbers after he had that huge night against the Yankees for the Rays the other day. The Mets only gave him 25 at-bats.
Yeah, so stupid. That was the dumbest move they made this season.
I have to agree. At the time, I did watch that last game where, not only was he not hitting a lick, but, his defense was an issue. But 25 at-bats after missing almost a full year getting Tommy John surgery, that's nuts. That's insane that we cut him loose after that. He's only making $3 million, so it's not like, oh, we had all this money, blah, blah, blah. You're not getting anything better from Nito. So there wasn't like someone knocking on the door. We had to get him out of here. I thought we made the decision to stick with him when we traded away Puecki. So that like was a head scratcher for me. I didn't understand it. Coming up through the minors, the guy was traded for Cy Young Award winners twice. He obviously has a ton of talent, was a huge prospect, and he's always hit. And when he's been healthy, he's always hit. So the real issue with him was staying on the field. And it's not only just catching, because he actually got put on the DL a couple of times from getting hit with pitches. So it's just that he was one of those guys that, had a real time staying healthy. My thing is, hey, let's try to move him around a little bit, maybe in a different position, if catching's too much. But letting him go like that was insane. That just doesn't make any sense. At the time, I didn't really notice that he got such a small taste. So he missed most of spring training. He gets, we break camp. He's one of the catchers we break camp with, and they only give him 25 at-bats before they DFA him. That's just insane to me. After we've already invested so much time and effort in this guy, and he's performed well for us in the past.
And they just tendered him an offer in the offseason to pay him $3 million, which they're paying him anyway, which is like it's just absolutely insane. And you know what? Hey, 9 home runs and 26 RBIs in 42 games as a backup with the Rays. That's pretty good, John. I don't know any of the backup catchers that have those type of numbers.
Absolutely. Listen, good for him. I'm glad that he landed somewhere because I always thought he was a pretty good guy. He seemed like he was always a hustle, try guy. You never thought he was phoning it in. And if you look at his numbers versus Ramos, their numbers are really, real similar. And Ramos plays every day and isn't exactly, the defensive catcher of the year. So, I don't know. Like, this is a great example. Do you think that the catching duo we have this year is better than the catching duo that we had last year? Like, would you take?
Well, definitely, because last year we had Nito and Lobaton. Because Darno played 4 games before getting hit in the arm.
Well, okay, so let's say, would you rather have Darno and Puecki or Ramos and Nito?
I would want Darno and Puecki.
Me too. I guess the Mets thought differently, and they are wrong. Now, unfortunately, we have a Ramos contract holding us down. If we could move him, that'd be great. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening.
Well, let's just give it up for – it sucks that he's not a Met, but at least we can now call him the Yankee Killer, Travis d'Arnaud. A few weeks ago, he had the walk-off home run against the Yankees. Then he goes 3 for 3 with 5 RBIs as the Rays win 5-4. Unbelievable. I mean, just so happy for the guy. And the other thing I want to notice, that was obviously a big, bad move so far this season. I just want to give a shout-out to our guy, friend of the program. And you heard about him first here. We were talking about this guy in early 2016. And that would be TJ Rivera, who's batting .310 with the Long Island Ducks.
Hey, good for him. Good for him. There's a lot of former Mets that end up on the Ducks. Kurt Neuheisen was there before he retired.
I think Wally Backman's the coach.
Yeah. I actually, I wouldn't mind going to watch some of that game. I think it might be pretty decent. I know John Neese was on that team for a little while this year, and then he ended up signing a minor league deal with Seattle. But very interesting, the Ducks.
Listen, I want TJ Rivera. I want the Mets to sign this offseason. We'll see him in spring training. And I guarantee, if he's in spring training playing, he's going to make the team.
Oh, I got an idea for you. New to the new Long Island Ducks, Matt Harvey. What do you think?
I don't know. How about Matt Harvey, New York Mets closer?